Hey there movie buffs. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about some of the most devastating character deaths in movie history, 5 movie character deaths that hurt me the most. These are the deaths we never saw coming. These are the characters we grew to love, the ones whose deaths hit us right in the feels and left us questioning why the universe had to be so cruel. Before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell so you won't miss more emotional breakdowns every week. Ready to feel all the feels? Let's get started. 1. Khal Drogo from Game of Thrones. Khal Drogo, portrayed by the incredible Jason Momoa, is introduced as a powerful and feared Dothraki warlord. Initially, Drogo seems like an unstoppable force, both physically and in his role as the leader of the Dothraki tribe. Yet, beneath his brutal exterior, there lies a man who, over the course of the show, begins to show vulnerability, particularly through his growing affection for Daenerys. His relationship with her is one of the most compelling arcs in Game of Thrones. A fierce warrior who, despite his initial coldness, falls deeply in love with the young, vulnerable Daenerys, and is willing to protect her at all costs. Their marriage starts as a political arrangement, one rooted in power and alliances, but it soon turns into a bond built on mutual respect and, eventually, love. Drogo is the one who gives Daenerys the strength to rise above her circumstances, to find the fire within herself, and to take control of her destiny. The death of Khal Drogo in Season 1, Episode 10, Fire and Blood, is a result of a chain of events that begins with a wound he sustains in a skirmish. This wound, though minor at first, becomes infected and Drogo falls ill. What's perhaps most heartbreaking is the moment when Daenerys realizes her husband, once invincible and proud, is no longer the same man. In an attempt to save him, she turns to a healer named Mirri Maz Duur, who offers a ritualistic blood magic that, while saving Drogo's life, leaves him in a catatonic state, alive but no longer the man he was. Ultimately, Daenerys makes the decision to end his suffering by smothering him with a pillow. Khal Drogo was one of the main characters who made me fall in love with Game of Thrones. How could a man so strong and fierce die so easily? I felt his character had more to offer in the movie. Well, let's move on. 2. Izogie from The Woman King. Izogie, played by the incredible Lashana Lynch, is a fierce and loyal warrior in the Izogie, an all-female military regiment that defends the kingdom of Dahomey. Throughout the film, Izogie stands as a mentor and a pillar of strength for Nawi, the film's protagonist, and the other young recruits. Her relationship with Nawi is particularly important. Izogie sees in Nawi a younger version of herself, wild, untamed, but with immense potential. Izogie serves as both a mentor and a friend to Nawi, helping her navigate the harsh world of the Izogie while challenging her to be stronger, braver, and more resilient. Their relationship sets the emotional tone of the story, making Izogie's eventual death all the more devastating. Izogie's death comes as a tragic and selfless sacrifice. In the final act, the Oyo Empire waged war, kidnapping Nawi, Izogie, and some other women. On their way to the auction, Izogie tells Nawi that a captured Izogie is powerless on her own and would rather die than be sold to the Europeans. However, Izogie and Nawi had a plan to escape when they were about to be sold to the Portuguese. A fight broke out at the slave port, with Izogie grabbing a gun, fighting off the buyers and soldiers and running away. But when she saw Nawi being held back, she turned around, sticking to Nawi's belief that they should never leave their people behind. Unfortunately, Izogie was shot multiple times in the back and stomach. Nawi rushed to her, devastated, feeling that her own stubbornness had led to Izogie's death. But despite the pain, it was clear that Izogie was happy with how she died, choosing to fight until the end rather than leave Nawi behind for the cold-hearted Europeans. Her character serves as a reminder of the often unseen sacrifices made by women in history, fighting not just for their own survival but for the survival of their families, their communities, and their legacies. 3. Mufasa from The Lion King. If you watched the very first 1994 Lion King, I'm sure you'll understand why Mufasa made this list. Mufasa was a strong Lion King who could take on anyone, but sadly he was betrayed by his own brother. Mufasa, voiced by James Earl Jones, is the wise and noble king of the Pride Lands. As a father to Simba and the husband of Sarabi, he represents strength, compassion, and the circle of life itself. Mufasa is the kind of ruler who is loved and respected by all, not just because of his power, but because of his kindness and sense of duty. For Simba, Mufasa is his role model, the ideal he strives to live up to. Their bond is deep, filled with love, respect, and mutual admiration. Simba's early mistakes and playful nature are met with patience from Mufasa, who gently guides him without imposing his will. Mufasa's death occurs in one of the most powerful and tragic sequences in film history. The scene is set after Simba's reckless exploration of the elephant graveyard with Nala, leading to a dangerous encounter with the hyenas. Mufasa rushes to Simba's rescue, saving him from the hyenas. However, their escape is cut short when Mufasa's brother, Scar, lures Simba into a deadly trap. In the scene that follows, Scar, jealous and bitter over being denied the throne, orchestrates Mufasa's death. Simba is caught in a stampede of wildebeests. In a desperate attempt to save Simba, Mufasa rushes into the wildebeest, grabs Simba and keeps him on a cliff. But the heartbreaking twist comes when Scar, with cold-hearted treachery, pushes Mufasa back into the stampede, sealing his fate. Simba watches helplessly as his father is dragged away by the wildebeests, screaming his name in vain. Simba is left to navigate the guilt of thinking he is responsible for his father's death. Scar manipulates him, telling Simba that it's his fault and encouraging him to run away from the Pride Lands. Simba, traumatized and vulnerable, flees, leaving behind a kingdom in mourning. Simba's departure marks a dramatic shift in the plot. The Pride Lands, once a thriving kingdom, fall into ruin under Scar's rule. 4. Jack Dawson from Titanic. Titanic is one movie that made a lot of people cry. Jack Dawson, portrayed by Leonardo DiCaprio, is the charming and free-spirited young man who wins Rose's heart aboard the ill-fated RMS Titanic. Jack's character is the epitome of freedom and adventure. He's a penniless artist who sees the world with wonder, and it's this energy that draws Rose, a wealthy young woman trapped in an engagement with the controlling and oppressive Cal Hockley. Jack represents everything Rose longs for: a life of passion, independence, and the chance to truly live. The death of Jack Dawson happens in the final moments of Titanic, after the ship has struck an iceberg and is sinking into the cold, unforgiving Atlantic Ocean. Jack was first handcuffed on the ship, but was later rescued by Rose. Jack's final moments are spent trying to save Rose while sacrificing his own life. After helping her onto a floating piece of debris, Jack tells Rose to never let go. He remains in the freezing water, unable to join her on the makeshift raft. For many fans, Jack Dawson's death remains one of the most emotional and talked about moments in Titanic. The scene has sparked countless debates. Why didn't he join Rose on the raft? Could Rose have saved him? 5. Tony Stark, Iron Man, from Avengers, Endgame. Tony Stark, portrayed by Robert Downey Jr., is one of the most iconic and beloved characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. His journey from a selfish, arrogant weapons manufacturer to a selfless hero who sacrifices everything for the greater good is the backbone of the MCU's first phase. Tony Stark's death occurs in the final battle against Thanos in Avengers, Endgame. The Avengers have gathered all the Infinity Stones, and after a long, grueling fight, Tony is left with a choice. He can use the stones to defeat Thanos and save the universe, but doing so will likely cost him his life. In that final moment, when Tony snaps his fingers and destroys Thanos and his army, there's a powerful silence that follows. It's not the flashy victory the audience expects from a superhero film. Instead, it's a quiet, heartbreaking realization that Tony has paid the ultimate price. His last words, "I am Iron Man," are a poetic bookend to his journey, echoing the very first words he ever spoke as Iron Man in Iron Man 2008. The immediate aftermath of Tony Stark's death is felt deeply by everyone in Endgame. Pepper Potts, Tony's wife, is left to raise their daughter, Morgan, without him. Peter Parker, Tony's surrogate son, is left devastated by the loss of his mentor. Even Steve Rogers, the man who has often disagreed with Tony, is overcome with grief. The Avengers are forever changed, as they have lost their most brilliant and selfless member. And that's a wrap on our breakdown of movie character deaths that hurt the most. What do you think about this video? Drop your thoughts and reactions in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. If you enjoyed this recap, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss our in-depth movie analyses and thrilling reviews. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay tuned for more edge-of-your-seat content.